And you can see what's plotted right now is the calculated energy usage for the home for the entire year with monthly plots. Okay, so I'm looking right now at the electricity consumption. If I click down here, this shows me the gas consumption. And that's what we would normally see with gas consumption, is this upside down bell curve. So let's start by putting in information now on the utility bill for the homeowner. And so we'll start out by putting in the KW for January. And I'll go ahead and put in that I found 750 there. And you can also put in cost, and that way EnergyPro can compare the cost as well. So I wish I had some cost numbers in front of me, but I'll go ahead and let me just make something up here for us. Let's see. So I'll go ahead and say that was 150 there. Okay. So then we do February, and let's say we see 800 here, and 160. Okay, and you can see off to the right, as I'm putting these numbers in, EnergyPro is putting the billing data versus the calculated data, and that way we can see if we have a reasonably good representation of the homeowner's energy bills. Now, something to keep in mind about this is we've obviously done calculations here with a prediction on what this home is going to use. You will run into situations where you won't match what's on their utility bills, and that can be driven by quite a number of things. You may run into a homeowner that just doesn't use their heat a lot. They keep the house at 60 degrees in the wintertime. You may run into situations where the homeowner travels a lot. Maybe it's a vacation home, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of different occupant behavior things that can cause these things to not calibrate nicely. And that's just one of those things you'll have to evaluate as you discuss this with the homeowner. So we come along here and say that the cost on this one is going to be 170. Okay, and I think you guys get the general idea. I'm not going to bother putting in an entire year's worth of data here, but this is the general idea. Okay. So there we've got hopefully calibrated the electricity. We would do the same thing over here on the gas. And so now we look at the gas consumption, and we start to input the therms that we get off the utility bill, okay, and the cost. And once again, EnergyPro is doing the same thing. It's basically plotting it as we type the information in, and so you can go through the whole year and come up with that. Okay, so that's all great, and that will allow us then to get a total calibrated picture of the utility bills. Now, we might want to take a look and see from EnergyPro at this point what it's calculated for all of the different consumption and cost numbers for the year. So what we would do is we would go down to the report section here, and we would tell EnergyPro, okay, I want a report which is going to be a residential performance report, and I want to get simply the Econ 1. This is going to give us the energy use and cost summary for the home. So we can now do a print preview, and EnergyPro will bring up for us a report that tells us what the calculated energy use by month is for electricity, what the calculated cost is for the electricity. It will tell us the calculated energy use for natural gas and the calculated cost. And at the bottom here, it'll give us an overall total of cost and cost per square foot, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this is kind of a nice point to take a look at that and make sure we've got everything kind of dialed in the way we wanted it. Okay. So hopefully at this point we've arrived at a stage where we can say that we've got the home reasonably accurately described, and we could then move forward with making some recommendations on the home. So what we would do is we would go back to our calculations here, and there's two ways you can make recommendations on upgrading the home with EnergyPro. One approach, which gives you the absolute ultimate in flexibility, is to create two versions of the home in EnergyPro. So this version that we just created, we would call the existing condition. And we would come up with our predictions on energy use that we just did on the Econ 1, and we would stop at that point. Then we would take this home and we would save it as a new file and call it the upgraded home. And then we could go into the building tree and we could start making selective changes to upgrade the home. So that's one way to do it, and you can do pretty much most changes you would ever want to do that way. It's a little bit more complicated to do it that way, but it does give you the ultimate in flexibility. The second way you can do it, which is what I'm going to do right now, is I'm going to use EnergyPro's ability to run various energy efficiency alternatives. And so we select the calculation we're doing here, which is the residential performance, and we click on the alternative screen here. And we will select for EnergyPro what type of upgrades we want to consider to this home. Now, this will allow us to do a number of things. Number one, we'll be able to select the energy efficiency upgrade. Number two, off to the right, we will be able to identify costs associated with that upgrade. And if we identify the costs, then EnergyPro will go ahead and report for us on a nice report there the cost effectiveness benefit of that upgrade for the homeowner. So that's up to you how you want to do those costs. Obviously, it's not a requirement to get the energy efficiency alternatives, and obviously the program you guys are dealing with looks at the energy savings for the project, not necessarily the cost of the measure nor the cost savings for the measure. But that is a nice thing to consider. So what we can do now is we have the choice to identify what upgrades make sense for this home. And I'm going to check this first box and say we think we're going to consider upgrading the roof insulation for the homeowner. And I'm going to select the alternative measure here. I'll click on Undefined and tell EnergyPro that we're going to consider upgrading it to an R38 roof. Okay, so that's great. We'll go ahead and increase the insulation there. Now, we can go over here and we can either select that we are going to do a user-defined cost, and that means I'll just go ahead and type in the cost, or we can select costs from a database. So if I click on the Select button here, this takes us into what's called the DEAR database. DEAR is Database of Energy Efficient Resources, and that is published by the California Public Utilities Commission, and they upgrade that every couple of years. The costs in here, they look okay. I'll leave it up to you if you're happy with these costs or not. If you're not, then that's why we have the checkbox for user-defined. So I'll go ahead and scroll down, and I'll find a ceiling upgrade here, and that's to add R19 bats into the ceiling. And we select OK, and then EnergyPro calculates the cost for us and says, okay, that upgrade based upon the CPUC database is going to cost $1,900 to do. Okay, so you might look at that and say, well, $1,900, that's way too much. So we're going to say that that's going to be $1,400. Okay, that's fine. You have the choice to do that. We thought we might want to consider upgrading the floor. So we had an uninsulated floor. We click on that and say, let's go to a R19 floor. Okay. And I'll go ahead and select R19 floor with crawl space and say OK. All right, and we'll go ahead and associate a cost with that. Once again, we can use the database here. See if we find it in here. Okay, floor insulation. And you can see that based upon the CPU's database, they're seeing $1,800. Okay. All right. What other considerations do we want to do? We might want to look at the duct leakage on the HVAC system. So we're going to go ahead and seal the ducts, and I'll go ahead and bring the leakage down to 6% leakage. Maybe we're going to consider upgrading the insulation on the ductwork, and we'll go ahead and wrap the ducts and bring that up to R8. We want to do building leakage testing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do an airflow test, and we're going to go ahead and bring the airflow in that building down from the as found case to, I'll go ahead and put 1400 in here. Okay, and you can see there's a whole list of other things. If you don't see something on this list, then you don't want to use the alternatives approach for the calculations. You can use the approach I described earlier, which is to do the before and after case. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you as well, but we're going to just stick with the stock alternatives case. If you can find everything in the list here that you want to do, then this is a really, really clean way to go ahead and consider your upgrades. We're going to take the indoor lighting, and we're going to switch everything over to what we call, well, let's not do high efficacy. We're going to do screw-in compacts. That's an easy change for the homeowner. And we can also consider if we want to do something like occupant sensors on the controls. So I'll go ahead and just leave it with something simple. We're going to switch over to screw-in compact fluorescent. On the outdoor lighting, I'm going to select that we're going to do high efficacy. High efficacy would be a more efficient technology than the compact fluorescents. It would be something like a regular fluorescent. It could be some sort of HID technology. So I'm going to assume we're going to switch those outdoor fixtures over to high efficacy, and that we're going to put everything on a sensor so that the lights automatically turn off for us. Okay, we can do appliance upgrades if we want. So our appliance upgrade is going to be to put in a better inside refrigerator, and maybe we take that garage refrigerator, which was pretty inefficient, and maybe we put a real good one out there. Okay, we take the dishwasher. We're going to do a replacement on the dishwasher. We'll take it up to a 0.7 energy factor. Okay. Obviously, I need to add some costs over here associated with these things. I'll come back and do that in a minute. We can look at a water heater upgrade. So maybe we're going to take that old water heater out of there, and we're going to put in a better water heater. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. I'll pick one of these water heaters down here, which is a Takagi. Okay, so that's an instantaneous water heater. So we'll see how that pencils out as far as an upgrade. And then you can do some more sophisticated stuff by putting a solar system on the home. You can even add photovoltaics, PV, by selecting renewables. I'll go ahead and stay away from those. They're a little bit more expensive and exotic technologies. I'll go back now and add some costs here. So we're going to seal the ducts, and we're going to figure that's going to pencil out at $600. We're going to add duct insulation, and that'll add another $350 there. Tightening up the building envelope, we'll pencil out $450 for that. We'll pencil out the new appliances as being $900. Oops, it's probably a little low, but that's okay. Screw-in CFLs, that's an easy one. You know, that's probably $50. And doing the outdoor lighting, that's probably not that big of a deal. We're probably talking about $150 there. Okay, and if you don't agree with my costs, fine. I'm just making everything up as I go. So the Takagi, you know, that's going to be a little pricey. Probably let's put $1,500 for that. Maybe a little low, but let's see what it pencils out to. Okay, so now what we can do is we've selected all these different things. We can ask EnergyPro to go ahead and run these alternatives. And there's two ways we can run the alternatives. We go back to the options screen, and we can tell EnergyPro, run individual alternative energy measures. If we check that box and hit calculate, what EnergyPro is going to do is it's going to look at every one of those measures that I identified on that list, and it's going to run just that measure alone, and it's going to tell me what the energy savings from that measure will be, and it will tell me how much percentage better that we do than what we had on the existing home. And so we selected probably about, I'm thinking about 8 measures there, and so it's running each of those measures and evaluating the energy cost, and you can see it's chunking away right now. And once it's done, it's going to go ahead and plunk down at the bottom of the screen here all the different measures.